and welcome to our latest edition of Get in the Habit podcast with myself, David Finch, my co-host, Sue Allsworth, and the very lovely Julia Coulson. How you doing?
Hi, thank you so much for having me on with you. It's just awesome to be here with you guys.
Well, Julia, it's been a pleasure. We met in 2017, I think it was now, doing a chakra dancing course.
We did. It was 2016.
Wow.
Was it really? No, it wasn't. No, it
wasn't. I was keeping track.
So, and I know we met up, and although you actually live in Scotland now, you're actually from our neck of the woods and from Ashford, just up the road. So we were sort of kindred Kent spirits. Oh, there's a mouthful for you. So welcome onto the show. And it's a pleasure to see you. We haven't seen each other for a while, so it's just nice.
I know. It's really, really lovely, because also being from Kent, where I was born and brought up, I just love hearing your guys' accents, because, you know, we don't hear much of that up here with the Scottish accent. So it just makes me feel at home when I hear your accents.
Well, just to let you into a secret, Julia, it's a little bit multinational today, because actually I come from Essex, but I live in South Wales. So we're spreading around the country. You know, we've got England, Scotland and Wales.
Wales all represented. So we are a united kingdom, aren't we? Let's face it, we are a united kingdom. Love it.
Brilliant. Yeah,
fabulous.
That's really good. Yeah. So, Julia, what do you do?
I teach Kundalini Yoga.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
I've heard of yoga, but I've heard of Kundalini Yoga, but I wouldn't, if someone said to me, describe what it is, I wouldn't be able to. So could you tell us what specifically Kundalini Yoga is?
Absolutely. So Kundalini Yoga is more of a spiritual practice. It's based on a combination of movement with breath, meditation, which can be through breath work and or chanting. So its aim is to release the Kundalini energy that we all have. It's described as a snake coiled at the base of the spine, and it's untapped energy that sits there until we do a specific practice to awaken that energy. And this energy can be drawn up through the body. It activates all the energy centers that we know as chakras. And our chakras express and represent all aspects and qualities of our humanness. So awakening and developing every chakra helps balance a more harmonious sense of self. So helps us to consciously relate more with ourselves, to others, and to the world. So it's a very different type of yoga. It's not the yoga that you hold specific posture, which is more a physical, and I know it can be spiritual too, but it's more the physical sense. This is less about holding a posture, and it's more related to breath work with movement.
Right. Okay. How did you get into that type of yoga then? Did you do the other type of yoga first and then sort of move into that? So tell us how you got into it.
I have done yoga for many, many years. And specifically, I was into hatha yoga. And then 9 years ago, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And in between my surgery and my treatment, a friend and myself decided to go on a yoga retreat just for the weekend, just for some relaxation and just to chill out and to, you know, really sort of help me in my healing really after surgery. So we looked for a yoga retreat. I wanted hatha, she wanted ashtanga, and we decided to have a look, but we wanted to come down to the south of England somewhere, and we found two. There was one that was hatha yoga and one that was hatha yoga with Kundalini. When we looked at the Kundalini, neither of us had heard about it, but we thought, oh, well, it describes it as a spiritual yoga. So we thought, yeah, that sounds good. So we decided that whichever was the easiest to get to from Scotland, we would go to, you know, practically by travel. And it turned out the one that was easiest to get to was the one with Kundalini.
Right.
So that is the one that we went to. And it was for a weekend, and we did these weird things like chanting, and I had never chanted before, so it was very bizarre and felt very weird. And I was sort of looking around thinking, what on earth is this?
You're quite an inward shot. Let's put it this way, compared to me, we would say that you were shy. I mind you, to a lot of people, they would be shy compared to me. But for you, knowing you, to walk into something like that, there was probably a bit of an inner dialogue going, what on earth have we walked into?
Absolutely. Like, what on earth is this? But it was that also weird thing of, okay, this feels quite good, but it's so weird at the same time. And it was just the most amazing weekend. And after that weekend, I knew I needed to do my teacher training. I felt so good afterwards. I just felt energized and relaxed, and it was just amazing. Wow. So we did another retreat, and then I started my teacher training, which was for a year, and there was 4 weekends throughout the year and a week in France. And it was quite a life-changing year. Not only was I going through my treatments, but through the teacher training, we also had to develop a daily practice. So that daily practice has continued because it's really become my self-care. You know, it really helps set me up for the day, really brings me into myself. And I really noticed that any stresses or tensions that happened in the day, as they do, I had more resources to deal with it. I just felt calmer in dealing with them. I didn't get sort of heightened and caught up in that energy. And so it just really helped sustain me and my energy through what I was going at the time. And it was incredibly healing.
It must have kept you very present. It must have kept you very present with everything, with where you were at. So, yeah. And in some ways, when you're dealing with something like breast cancer or any of that kind of thing, you kind of have to stay very present with that kind of thing, because that you don't know what's going on and what's going to happen in the thing. So it must have really helped anchor you in that moment.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it was a very unknown what was going to happen. You know, who knew? So yeah, I mean, breath work really brings you into the present. But what I also found was that, so we practice what is called a Kriya, which is a sequence of a set of exercises for a specific reason. So it helps work on different systems in the body. And along with the chakras, it was helping me emotionally, because it would, you know, there would be times when I would be doing meditation or a Kriya and tears were streaming down my face. I had no cognitive understanding of what was being released, but I didn't need to. But, you know, so emotions can be released. And equally, there were times when I was meditating and just in this complete bliss state as well. But that, you know, just really helped keep my focus and keep my faith, really, because it also really helps us tune into our own intuition and our own higher consciousness, so that, you know, what happens and it's meant to, and it's for a reason. So it really just helped me stay centered in that.
It's very strange, but it's an amazing journey, and it is breath work. I know, you know, I use it in different ways, and I always say, you know, if you've got nothing else, you think you've got no other time, just take 3 breaths. you know, even if it's just sitting on the toilet, because it is amazing what just taking 3 deep breaths and taking that step out, but to go into it even deeper, I know it's a fabulous journey. And I know you work with the chakras as you've been saying. I never sit this way. This is the first time I've sat this way, doing a podcast, and funnily enough, right behind me,
Oh yeah.
I've got the chakra angel behind me today. So I feel that we're very protected in that chakra love and loving energy today. But
How awesome.
yeah, it's amazing, Jenny, and you're here with us now. So just so that the listeners and viewers know, you're obviously here with us now. So that means that it was all good news with the cancer.
Absolutely, yeah. I feel incredibly grateful to still be here, and feel grateful for every single day that I wake up. And Kundalini has been part of that journey. I've been teaching now for 7 years. One of the I really want to tell you about this, because it's one of those times in your life that you think, really, did that really happen? On my teacher training, we had a week in France. It was part of the curriculum. And this week in France was camping. It was, kind of like our estates. It was in the woods. So we had to camp for the week. And we were told to take all our waterproofs, because it was traditionally known to pour down with rain the whole time and be very muddy. So we had these enormous rucksacks with our welly boots, all of our, waterproof tops, bottoms, etc. The whole week was in the 40s. I had one pair of shorts just in case.
Oh no.
And there were no washing facilities. It was in the river. So, we couldn't take any chemical toiletries, which was amazing. It was we washed completely in the river. But one night we climbed up a mountain and we slept under the stars. The whole week was filled with these incredibly crazy activities amongst the Kundalini. We had 2 hours sleep a night at the most. There was one night, because we got up early, because we started at 4 o'clock, and one of my savers, so a saver is to do something for the community, to give, because it nourishes our soul when we give and we serve. And my saver was to cleanse and clean the Kundalini Yoga. Well, it was a marquee. There was about 300-400 people there. It was enormous. Wow. So I had to get up at 3:30 to go and wash in the river, go and clean, to be ready for 4 o'clock start. So there was one night we'd done an activity and thought, oh, great, go and get some sleep. I looked at my watch. Oh, my gosh, it's 3:30. I haven't got time for any sleep. Right. So we had 2 nights where we didn't get any sleep. And it was just a crazy time. We, in the evening, so people brought their instruments, and it was just like what we would know as a party, where, people were singing, chanting, dancing, and these musicians were playing, and everyone was as high as a kite. But there was no food, there was no alcohol, and no drugs. And it was purely Kundalini energy. It was just the most incredible week. And then on the way home, we got a bus, and me and my friend would be talking away, and then all of a sudden we'd be fast asleep. And then we'd wake up and it's like, oh, we'd carry on with the conversation, then be fast asleep. It was the most strangest time, but the most awesome as well, really feeling energized and really, really good in myself.
On something like that, they get you in, with different courses and retreats, and I've been on different ones, but they get you in for whatever, if it's Kundalini, I've done a Tantra one. But they get you in this bubble and this energy, don't they? And it's kind of, if you're doing it for a week, to be quite honest, you've got nothing but surrender left in you to just go over to the process, haven't you? And it's kind of like you're either going to fight with it, because as you're talking, I'm automatically sort of sitting there thinking, my brain's going, well, I can't cope with lack of sleep, so that's no good for me. So I've got a negative already. Do you see what I mean? I've got that negative inner dialogue. Oh, this sounds really good. Oh no, only 2 hours sleep. Oh no, I'm out. But it makes you sort of push your mind, your body, and your soul in a different spiritual way. And as you say, you know, lack of sleep is going to get anyone high, to be quite honest, and you don't need the alcohol and the drugs for that one. But it does, when you're surrounded with that amount of people and that energy, I mean, wow, it must have been a great orgasm, to be quite honest, on one level, isn't it? Because there's many different kinds of orgasms in life. An orgasm is the sense of pleasure, and the feeling of pleasure, and that would have been one hell of an orgasm.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
Sounds amazing.
A divine universal orgasm.
Yeah, exactly. One of the purest and the scrummiest sort that for me, that's the scrummiest sort of orgasm for me going around. So, but I'm single, so what do I know?
Some sort of training course, though, isn't it? When you think about it, I mean, that is an amazing training course. You know, I mean, I run training courses, and it makes my one sound really boring now. It really does. It's like I need to get out in the stars and, you know, go up the mountains. We've got loads of mountains around here. Maybe we do that on the next course. You never know. You know.
So,
wow.
Julia, I know that you've been teaching this and you've had your own practice up in Scotland and that, but you've actually had quite a big development in lockdown. Lockdown has actually sort of seen you through in quite a surprising way, has it not?
It really has, yes. So I'm not quite, lockdown has seen many, many changes for me. Life has completely changed. One, I've just opened a wellness centre in Perth, and the other is I moved house, both at the same time. So it was an incredible time of change.
So tell us a bit more about, because Dave actually runs a centre called The Retreat for hypnotherapy. So tell us a bit more about this new centre. We've not spoken for a while, so this is going to be all news to me as well. So yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so so it's called Perth Wellness Centre. It's based in Perth in Scotland in an industrial estate. So it's amazing because it's sort of this sanctuary right in the middle of the industrial estate. So obviously it's organically growing at the moment. But I have this, I'm also a psychotherapist, so I have my practice, that's where I hold my practice there. But we are also planning, because it's organically grown, but we also do have other yoga teachers there. So we're planning to have different types of yoga, maybe Pilates. We're just hoping that teachers will come and join us, and also different therapies there. So we really, really want to offer a holistic centre from many different holistic therapies. And our focus is helping people to come off antidepressants, so people with mental health issues, where they get stuck into the system with antidepressants, because you know, from my own experience, I've had mental health issues. You know, years ago I had depression, and I think it's really, really important to know that we don't just have to rely on medication, that there are more ways that can help us, and actually we can feel a very different way if we want to.
Yes, I agree. I mean, there is a chemical imbalance sometimes that goes on, that you need that tablet to help with the chemical imbalance.
I agree.
But a tablet does not actually ever cure you of depression. Absolutely. Unless you deal with the issues that has caused the depression in the first place. As I say, I always say to people, there is a chemically imbalanced depression that needs medication to soothe, and that's one thing. But there is also, I kind of call it life depression, because it is what life has thrown at us, and we don't give I mean, it's quite relevant at the moment. This will come out, this will be playing this in about a week's time. But what's recently just happened is Simone Biles in the Olympics has pulled out of the Olympics, not because she's got a pulled muscle, but because she's got mental health issues. And people are really slating her. Now, she's actually from her childhood been sexually abused by her coach, Larry Nassar, that has now been put in prison. And she has continued to go into the same environment and the same places that will have triggered that PTSD, where he's been with her and different things. And, you know, fair play, Naomi Osaka is another one in the sport world at the moment who has said mental health, you know, you come off a match. And even in the Olympics, Mum was saying the other day, someone had just finished a boxing match or something and lost, one of ours, and boom, they were on it interviewing. And you can't, you know, our emotions take time to process, don't they? We're going out and doing it. So no, I'm really, that really pleases my heart that you've got that focus on helping people to realize that there is a place for antidepressants. I'm not here to say I'm anti-antidepressants, but there is a much bigger issue underneath and behind. The antidepressants still just mask. For me, it's almost like smoking a joint. You'll just block, it's having a drink. It doesn't matter what you're doing. A drug is a drug is a drug, and you're blocking what it is that you have to deal with. So yay, well done, and congratulations.
Well done, Julia. I wish you all well with that, because you know, I had a similar journey a few years back. And excuse me, I had a small office and decided to open a wellbeing centre, a therapy centre. And it's a big step, I must admit. It's a big leap of faith, isn't it? You know, I had a big space. We got 7 rooms. If you count the little rooms and stuff, we've got sort of 7 or 8 rooms, and yeah, it's difficult sometimes, but it does grow, you know. And before the lockdown, it was in a really good place. Of course, then, you know, we had COVID-19 come around and put a little bit of a stop to that. But saying that, since we opened back up in Wales again, things are starting now to really progress, and people are now coming back. You know, we've got more therapists renting rooms and starting to really sort of start to see people coming along now. And I think that's a kind of a step process that people initially was a bit wary of coming out, even, you know, kind of, what's going to happen if I go out into this big scary world again? And that's part of where we all need to help people, really, to do that, to get out, to do what they used to do, you know.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I really wish you well with that.
Thank you so much. That sounds awesome. And I love how, you know, you're finding that it's growing again, because, you know, it does take time and it does organically grow. But, you know, my ethos is, you know, when it comes from the heart, it will grow. You know, the universe provides, and also it creates community for people, you know, where people can meet like-minded people, and it becomes a sanctuary as well for people.
It's funny, because what you're saying there is exactly my thoughts when I started it up. But what might happen with you, and it happened to me, is that you kind of go peaks and troughs, like any business, I suppose. You know, there was one time when I was really struggling, to be honest with you. It was like, what am I going to do? I'm going to close this place, because it peaked, then it went down, and then I thought, oh no, what am I going to do? And it started to peak again. It started to get better. And I thought, oh yeah, I am doing the right thing. You know, you start to second guess yourself and worry, am I doing the right thing? Is it just me that wants this wonderful place to be, you know, like a community and everything else? But then you get the right people come along who you do attract, and they are attracted to you. And I think in the early days that didn't really happen as much as I wanted it to, you know. But it's happening again now. And funny enough, only the other day I was having a conversation with someone, and we were talking about, again, more of a building a network together of other therapists, local, you know, sort of building it up, and going again strength to strength. So it will happen, and I really wish you well, because, you know, it is tough. You have a vision, And sometimes your vision is not quite everybody else's vision.
Well, that's right, but it's then going with the flow and trusting that it goes where it's meant to go, in the way that it's meant to be.
Yeah.
And it's weird, because sometimes where I've sort of, I think this year, been in a part where I've manifested, I wanted something, I tried to create it myself, I had to let it go, and actually it's come into my life manifested via someone else doing it, so I actually don't have half the stress and the trouble in doing it. But sometimes where you think where you want to go, and like you say, Julia, you've got to listen to your heart and go with the flow, because sometimes where you end up is not where you thought. You were trying to manipulate the path or the journey in some ways. Does that make sense?
Definitely, yeah. The universe always provides what we need, not necessarily what we want.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah. So, look, Julia, we're coming towards the end of our podcast today. Do you have like some top tips for people that maybe are going on a bit of a journey now, or maybe they're sort of looking around at different types of yoga?
Or even trying to, top tips for me would be for people who are thinking of trying to not necessarily come off antidepressants, but to find complementary so that they can have a bit more of a balance. That would be a good angle.
Good idea. Yeah, let's go with it.
Okay, well, one thing that you touched on earlier, Sue, was breath work. You know, we all breathe. We can all do breath work, but, you know, every day we do it unconsciously. So breath work really is about conscious breathing, so bringing our mind to our breath. And as we said earlier, it really brings us into the present. But it also works on our nervous system. So a specific breath that can work on our parasympathetic nervous system to really help calm us. And let's face it, we all need bring in some calm during the day at some point. And this breath work can be done anywhere. So it can be, you know, incorporated if you're at work or if you're at the kitchen sink. Similar to, like you said, Sue, with your 3 breaths, with deep breathing, where we inhale and exhale through the nose, but as slowly as we can. So inhaling and pushing the belly out. And as we exhale, we push the belly back in. And as we inhale, we count to 4. And as we exhale, we count to 8. So the exhale needs to be longer than the inhale, because it's the exhale that works on the parasympathetic nervous system. So this is a very calming breath that can be done anywhere, but it needs to be practiced, because, you know, we're so used to breathing from the top of our lungs. Especially if we're stressed, this is where we breathe from. And this breath requires a deeper breath, using the belly, a bit like a bellow, to bring the breath in deeper. But, you know, just even a minimum of 3 minutes of doing that a day, you will notice a difference. And that is just something that you can do anywhere, at any time, and is very calming. And that is a really basic breath.
And there's no excuse that you haven't got time to breathe, because, you know, if you haven't got time to breathe, you're not here anyway.
Yeah. Bye.
And what
going through that, you know, as you said, a lot of us, we just breathe, and we're used to breathing so quickly. And I was, while you was talking there, doing a 4 in and an 8 out. And, you know, I haven't practiced it as often as I should, because it is, you're using muscles. When you slow that down, that breathing out to 8, you're having to use muscles as well to control that breath. So you're not just going, and you're actually letting the air out, all of the air out. Yeah, no, it's amazing. Any other little top tips?
well, I just want to say with that one, what I really like about the counting is it gives the focus for the mind, because the mind, you know, we can be, oh, well, I must think about that and must remember that and get that and do that. Whereas actually the counting brings focus to the mind.
Distraction, isn't it? Yeah, it brings that. Brilliant.
So yes, I hope you can find 3 minutes to maybe try that.
That's it. Lovely. Well, thanks very much for joining us today, Julia, and sharing some of your experiences in your in your life, and your practice and what you're doing, and really hope that everything picks up for you, and this new venture that you're on really sort of takes off in the direction you really want it to be.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I've loved talking to you guys, and really hope, Dave, that your retreat centre picks up and grows and flourishes, and I'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, well, keep in touch, and maybe we should share some experiences. Although we've got a big distance between us, I'm sure our experiences are going to be very similar.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I always love.
As we found out too. You go, Julia. You go.
I was going to say, I always love talking to you. So
it is always. I mean, I think we found through lockdown there is no such thing as distance. To some degree, you say there's distance between us, but actually there really isn't. It's always a pleasure, Julia. If you ever need just a little sense of home, just ask me to do a little voice message on Messenger, and I'll do a little voice recording, and just so that you can hear that southern accent, which I don't think I have.
Yeah, you have. Yeah.
It really has been a pleasure. I know that you've been on one hell of a journey. When we first met, it was still quite raw for you. When we first met, you're a lot more open now because you've gone through that journey, that process, and processed it yourself, I think. But it is amazing what you've been on. I'm blessed to have met you. I'm blessed that you're still going strong, because you really are a beautiful soul and a beautiful energy. And I know we don't connect enough, but there is that, we had that connection. In fact, you were the first person to ever buy my first ever book of Journal Journey Through Creativity.
How
You were my first buyer, and so for that I will always be eternally grateful. But it is just brilliant. So thanks everyone for listening and watching this week. As always, if you have a habit, a story, or something that you think is relevant to mind, body and soul that you would like to share with us, please get in touch with myself, Sue Allsworth, as I am the PA of the unit. Don't forget, you can find us on all podcast places, and you can sign up and subscribe to the Authentic Smile YouTube channel. So until next time, everyone, it's a goodbye from me, Sue.
Goodbye from me.
And a goodbye from me.
Brilliant.
Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.